Thanks, that's all for today.
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 Thank you, that's all for today.
Thanks, that's all for today.
Thanks, that's all for today.
Thanks, that's all for today.
Hello and welcome back to Thanks, That's All for Today, a podcast hosted by me, Harriet Mullen. Welcome back. Thanks so much for joining me today on a Wednesday, would you believe? I mean, it might not be Wednesday when you're listening to this, but I'm recording this on a Wednesday, midweek drop, just for you guys. Thanks so much for all the love for season 2 so far. I hope you enjoyed Afu's podcast. And now who could I have next? My next guest for this next episode is a leading lady who has played Sally Bowles and Cilla Black. We met during the open auditions for Cilla The Musical, and I went on to understudy her in 2018. Feel like I'm on Stars in the Rise. Who else could it be but Kara Lily Hayworth? Hello, good evening, good afternoon. What's the other one? Good day, good day. Good night. Hello and welcome back to this next episode of Thanks, That's All for Today. And joining me on today's episode is leading lady who you may recognise from Cabaret, Cilla The Musical, Maggie May, to name a few. And also, let's not forget Annie. She has been working since she was a child. When I was a child and I was miming to S Club 7 and the Spice Girls in my bedroom, she was gracing the stage with her talents. She's also been a presenter on the Discovery Kids channel. Is that true, Kara Lily Hayworth?
It is true. I remember I talked about dolphins, I think.
Excellent. Fantastic. Also gracing our screens in The Huntsman and Maleficent, which I didn't know.
I mean, barely.
You're very modest. You were brilliant, Maleficent. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the beautiful Kara Lily Hayworth.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. It's lovely to see you.
And you, Angel.
So lovely to see you. We've just worked out we haven't seen each other, like most people, in 2021 and 2022. We haven't seen each other since 2019. Gross.
That's insane. That's gross.
That is actually gross, considering we used to see each other like every day.
It's weird, isn't it, when you're on tour and you are so in each other's pockets. And then, I mean, obviously with everything going on in the world, that hasn't helped, but you just suddenly find it goes months, years, and you haven't seen each other from being that intensely close.
Yeah, definitely. And we worked out we've known each other now, I think 4 years. It would have been 4 years around this time 4 years ago.
Yeah, because I've just turned 33 and I was 29 when we were auditioning for Cilla together. That makes me feel old.
So, Kara Lily Hayworth. Did I say Lily?
Kara Lily.
So, Kara Lily Hayworth, I've got to talk about how we met, my little anecdote for you. And obviously, we will talk about Cilla a little bit later on because we did kind of meet there, didn't we? I think maybe. But I have to say, when I was about 19 or 20, I was in a girl band. And I remember on our Facebook page, somebody's mum wrote on our wall, you know, Facebook terms, on our wall, OMG, Britain's Got Talent, Zyra Rose are just like the gems. Harriet, you're just like the redhead in Zyra Rose. And I was like,
no,
because we were 3 brunettes and a redhead, and that's what you guys were. And obviously that's a long time ago, and we didn't know each other at all. But it's just so crazy that then when I met you and obviously saw you were in Zyra Rose, I was like, oh my God, I remember speaking about you and watching you.
That girl.
It's that girl. We're the same.
It's that ginger I spoke about.
I mean, everyone who's got red hair will relate to this, but if there is somebody in pop culture that has red hair, people just think that you look the same. So it's like, you look like Nicola from Girls Aloud or Jess Glynn, and like everybody just...
Well, if I look like you, that's a massive compliment. Well,
that's what I was thinking about you. I was like, thank you very much. What a compliment. And then obviously we met during the open auditions of Cilla The Musical. I remember when you walked in for the dance, after the dance, the singing rounds for Cilla. And I remember you walked in with your air boot on. And I remember thinking, that lucky so-and-so, she didn't have to do the dance call.
I mean, it's a long way to go to get out of a dance call, isn't it? To dislocate your
It was
knee.
a great ploy.
I mean, I don't know if my dancing would have even been inhibited. I'm that bad at dancing.
Oh no!
I think
don't
it
be
probably would
silly.
have been on the same level. But yeah, I managed to get out of the dance school, which I've never been more thrilled about.
Oh, you poor thing though,
yeah.
because you'd been injured from Secret Cinema Moulin Rouge, hadn't you?
Yeah, so I just finished Secret Cinema Moulin Rouge, and it was our last night. We'd finished the show, didn't have any more shows to do, and it was the after party. And I think so it was sort of a few audience members were invited, and it was sort of an after show drinks type thing. And I think one of the audience members had a few too many drinks, and like fell into me, like tumbled over something and fell into me. And yeah, I fell over and dislocated my knee. Oh, and I'd already like 10 years ago dislocated my right knee. And I remember I was just raging. So I was like, that was my good knee.
Oh no.
I know. So I know. So I'm pretty damaged.
We were all sat round in spotlight in the waiting area, and everyone, it was really hot. And everyone had their sort of like, well, a lot of people had their legs up, and you had to keep like coming out to go to the loo and like being, excuse me, could you please move your legs? Like it was, because there was about 30 of us in this tiny waiting room.
And I think because I'd arrived first, because I obviously hadn't done the dance call, I was stupidly in the corner.
Yeah, you were.
I decided
in the corner,
to sit. So I had to get past everyone to get out. They probably thought, who on earth is this?
And I was just sat there like pinging off my fake nails in the corner. But anyway, we skipped forward. Obviously, we ended up then doing all of the different rounds together. The final eight,
all 500 of
all
them,
500 rounds, and we ended up going to Liverpool together and doing our final audition at the Cavern. And I just remember I could not have got through that day without you.
Same.
So it was such an exciting day, though. It was obviously extremely nerve-wracking, but it was very bonding for all of us, wasn't it?
Oh God, yeah. That was when the love affair started, I think.
It was. Yeah, breaking news. We've had a 4-year-long love affair. And we
although we haven't seen each other since
2009. We haven't seen each other for 2 years, so it's like a year 6 relationship where you have a boyfriend, but you don't see each other for the 6-week holiday, but it still counts.
Yeah, exactly.
7-week relationship. But we got to go and see the Cilla statue, and we were obviously in the Cavern, and it was just so different from anything I'd ever done.
Yeah.
But I think that ultimately bonded us very close, and it wasn't like you four in the final 4 and you're against each other, because I think we had to audition together throughout. It never felt like that, and it honestly,
it didn't have that usual audition sort of competitiveness, and I don't know why, because you would think it would be even more so because it was being filmed and it was this whole big thing. But we all just got on really well, and it was actually really nice, and I would have been happy, for whoever had got the part, and it was lovely.
But I also remember there was a couple of rounds where you and I were split up into different groups. And so it was like when you came out, we both were like, oh my God, how are you? Are you okay? And then I'd have to go in, and then we'd be messaging after. So it was lovely that we had that in that intense situation. I remember the day that you found out, and I was at work, and I rang you, and we had this like lovely sort of relationship where if one of us heard, we tell the other one. It was just really lovely. I don't think I've ever had that many rounds to go through, but also having someone there who gets it the whole way through, like, and we spoke about what we were singing and what scenes to prepare and things like that. It was great. And so then when I didn't get it the first time, but then got it the year later, I could not wait to ring you and tell you that we were going on tour together. Do you remember?
I remember that phone call. I was around one of my friends' house, and I saw you were ringing. I was like, oh, and you were like, guess what, babe? And I was like, I was so excited. I've never been so chuffed, and I was like, we're gonna have the best time. It was great.
Oh, and we did.
We did.
You are a dream actress to understudy, because you really, really are. And you're so giving with sort of the character and things that you do and things that you've learnt. And I loved watching you as well. And you with me, with my cover runs, I'd say, could you watch it? And could you give me some feedback? And, like, you're far too polite and lovely. You would never give me any criticism, but you're so supportive. I never felt like, oh my gosh, the lead is watching me. And I felt
I'm so glad.
comfortable with that.
I'm so glad you felt like that. I would never want anyone to feel like they couldn't ask me questions or anything like that. If they had some, oh, what do you do here? What I wouldn't want. I mean, imagine being scared to ask. It makes such a difference having someone like you as an understudy. You were always so lovely and always so kind about what I was doing, and then that made our relationship even better with, you know, in terms of you asking me questions about what I was doing on stage and whatever like that. And yeah, I felt completely supported and hopefully supportive.
And I think it's a lovely story as well, that it was the open auditions. You have no idea with an open what is going to happen. There is no way that I would have thought that I could have got a role from an open audition, really.
No chance.
No chance. After being, you know, going for X Factor open auditions and Dorothy when I was really young, when I think it was the BBC did like the search for Dorothy, you just think that's for someone else. Like, I'm not going to go because someone else will get it. It's like winning the lottery.
Yeah.
How did it feel when you got that call? Did you ever know throughout the process, like, I could be in with a shot? Or was it just like shock after shock after shock after shock, and then you got the phone
call? It was
like,
kind
what?
of like that. Yeah, it was kind of just shock. Yeah, just shock. I knew that the sort of associates at Bill Kenwright's, I knew that they liked me because I knew that they'd spoken to my agent and said, we think she's great. So I knew that they thought I was good. But you know, you just never really know, because it all comes down to Bill. Yeah. At the end of the day, if he likes you as a person, if he thinks you're great, if he thinks you've got whatever that it thing is, and I knew that they initially obviously wanted someone from Liverpool, so I thought, well, there's no chance I'm gonna get this. They wanted the sort of authentic, you know, discovering a star, diamond in the rough type situation. And obviously, I'd done some things. I'd been to drama school. I was quite, you know, prepared in that way, and I'd done a few jobs, not loads, but I had done shows where I'd done 8 shows a week and things like that. So I don't think initially I was what they wanted necessarily. I think they wanted to discover someone, but to be honest, because it was such a hard track, I think if they had found someone that had never done anything like that before, I think it would have been really tough. You know, I found it really tough, and I was experienced to a certain extent,
and
so
disciplined,
I think,
which I think is a massive thing for a role like Cilla. You have to have discipline, and
totally.
I think that all comes into it. You know, the process of doing 8 shows a week, you know, looking after yourself and being the best possible version of yourself for the character and for the role and for the show as well. And you did that beautifully. So, got to ask you, my lovely, how are you? How have you been coping with creativity in this lockdown, global pandemic era? Because you've got so many different ventures. No, you have. Tell me about them. Let's have a little shout out for your businesses.
Oh, bless you. Well, I've been trying to be creative. I've been doing bits of like painting and stuff, and I've always loved painting, and I've never thought that I was good enough to sell it or actually put it out there into the world. And then I was doing quite a bit during the first lockdown, and I thought I could see everyone else putting out all of these creative things, and I thought, why not? Like, even if I make no money, I'm doing it anyway, I might as well. And actually I've sold a few paintings, and it's lovely.
Fantastic.
Yes, I mean, it's Lily Barnes Art, if anyone wants to have a little look.
You heard it here first, Lily Barnes. And also your jewellery company as well.
Oh, yeah. I sort of lost momentum on that one a little bit, but it's still on Etsy. But yeah, Dainty Made Jewellery. We're just trying to keep creative and trying to keep busy. I love it.
I love that. I was going to ask you, like, how have you kept busy? And then I was doing my research on you, and I was like, my gosh, yeah, actually, I've got to mention the jewellery, the painting, and also the photography. I know obviously we're not allowed to, like, at the moment, but Cara's actually done my headshots, and she's brilliant if anybody is looking at headshots. So there you go. There's your little business shout out. Support local
there you go.
businesses.
Keep these out of work actors afloat.
In the industry, there are times when we are, you know, some of us are out of work, unemployed. and you've got to find ways to keep yourself busy. And I think it's brilliant that you've stretched out into, you know, the art side of things and jewelry making and things also that aren't horrible to do, not horrible to do, but stressful to do.
No,
I imagine it's quite enjoyable.
I actually really enjoy it, and especially with the art stuff, I feel really relaxed and quite chilled. I'll put on some like Leanne La Havas or something and get all my paints out, and I actually really enjoy it, and it makes me feel sort of calm and takes away a bit of that stress. I'm so grateful for my lovely husband Rob, because he has been able to keep everything afloat. Shout out Rob. Keep everything afloat, and he's amazing, and he works in the film industry, which actually is thriving. Now it's doing, I mean, everything sort of shut down in the first lockdown, but he seems to be busier than ever. So it means I've been able to do my sort of frivolous creative avenues like art and stuff, and I haven't had to go and do a job that makes me miserable. So I'm very grateful for that and for him.
Oh, amazing, fantastically. So that's good. So shout out to Mr. Rob, supporter, isn't he?
He is.
All my family are. So just not that, that would make any difference if he was like, you know, Man United fan. I wouldn't judge him.
You wouldn't support
I'm not
don't ask me any questions
I'm
about
not...
don't ask me any questions. I know nothing.
I only just worked out what Coys is, you know, the COYS.
Oh, come on, you Spurs. Yeah. I know that.
And the Liverpool YNWA. I was like, well, I don't get all these abbreviations. Like, you'll never walk alone. I don't know what that one is. I only I see. You'll never walk alone.
There you go.
You learn something new every day. To ask you, actually, as you've been you know, you've been Cilla Black and you've been Sally Bowles, some of the biggest roles for female performers, do you still feel the same as you did auditioning like 10 years ago, or do you have any really?
I don't know if it's because now there's a sort of expectation, maybe. I don't know. I think, and it's so silly, I remember going to auditions after I'd done Cilla, and if I felt like I was singing badly or whatever, all I would imagine was the people on the panel going, how did she ever get that part? How did she? And I'd be telling myself this while I'm singing, and therefore obviously do a terrible job because I wasn't acting and I was just thinking about. But I think because then I thought people were expecting something of me. They were expecting me to be good. And then when I wouldn't be, or when I didn't feel like I'd done myself justice, I'd sort of have an even bigger low because I thought, I've ruined it, and they've gone, oh God, how did she even get that job in the first place? It's such a weird, it's so horrible how powerful our minds can be about how we feel about ourselves. And and I know I give myself a really hard time, and if things aren't perfect, I will drive myself crazy. And no matter how much I would practice at home, I'd get to an audition, even though I knew I could belt a certain note, and I'd chicken out and I'd put it in my head voice because I would be terrified that I would crack or whatever.
I really worry about people listening outside sometimes. That puts me off as well. Like if everyone's got to belt, I don't know if you've done an audition before where everybody has the same song, and well, obviously we both had the same songs, but do you go for everything that you get subbed for or get called in for, or are you more sort of filtered with your auditions now that you know what you like and what you don't like?
Now, as I've got older, I definitely am a bit more filtered. I used to try and do everything, and I'd go to all the dance calls and be awful, and now I just, if I know I'm not going to get it, if I know it's not my bag or I'm not going to nail that song, and if I can feel the stress like rising just at the thought of trying to sing that, I just go, well, I'm not going to get it. There's a million people that can sing that better than me. I'm not, you know, I think it was before all this happened, I was meant to have an audition for 9 to 5 to play and the one that sings Get Out and Stay Out.
Oh yes.
Right. And I
Judy
tried to sing it.
Might be, I'm not
Judy,
sure.
that's it. and I tried to sing it, and I could manage it, but it wasn't that big key change, but it wasn't comfy for me. And I just thought, I'm not going to get it. I'm stressing about it already.
Yeah.
It's not comfortably in my range. And I just said no. I didn't want to do the audition. Sometimes you think it's better to create no impression than to create a bad impression in an audition. So there has been times like that. And I've had things that have come in looking for, I think it was for Brooklyn, and you had to be able to belt up to like a G. And it's just not, I can't do that.
That's brilliant that you can recognize that, because I think that's such strength in your own ability. I will put myself forward for the things that I can do, and there will be roles, like obviously Sally Bowles and Cilla and Maggie May are not like walking the park roles, so you're obviously going to have to push yourself for that, but that you can.
I know that that's within my range, and I can sing those songs and nail them. So even if it's hard work, I know that that's what I can do, and I know what types of songs I can sing, and although I haven't really done that many soprano roles, if it's a soprano role, great. I know that I can sing a soprano role, and I can sing all those high notes. But when it comes to like rock belt and things like that, it's just not me. And there's so many people that can sing that sort of stuff so well, and I will leave it with them.
So let's play some games talking about audition styles. I'm going to ask you a series of would you rather questions. I always over-explain this, Cara. I do apologise. I always say, so basically you can choose one or the other. I know you understand this concept of this game. So we'll just get straight into it. Okay. Would you prefer open audition or a closed audition?
Well, I don't know, closed audition, but then my success rate has been all right with an open audition.
You're the only one I thought I could ask that one too.
Yeah, I think I'd still say closed audition. You just feel like they actually want you to be there.
Yes, definitely. So group or solo audition?
Solo. Group audition, my God. So
that's
stressful.
What gives me anxiety as well. Group auditions.
Yeah.
Okay, TV/film versus theatre audition.
Ooh, audition.
Yes.
I think I prefer TV and film auditions.
Please, could you tell us?
I think singing. Yeah. Don't have to sing in I mean, it sounds like I hate singing. Obviously my career has been predominantly singing, and I do love to sing. I just find singing very stressful, and singing in an audition scenario even more so. So I prefer TV and film auditions.
I remember when I met you and we were in the office of downstairs at Bill Kenwright's house. I was going to say at Bill Kenwright's house, the Bill Kenwright office.
Because he lives there.
And I said to you something about, I said, I'm quite, nervous about the scenes. And you were like, I'm the opposite. I'm nervous about the singing. Like we were the opposites with each other.
The scenes are fine with me, actually.
If you could cut us down the middle and stick us together, that would be great.
Yeah, we'd be great. I had an audition for Waitress, which I know in my head, I think actually I can do that. And I did the scenes and they were great, and I felt like I acted really well. And then I sang What Baking Can Do. And I actually apologized in the middle of a word. I actually went, even as the walls come tumbling down, even as I can't stop, remember, sorry, remembering how. And actually said sorry in the middle of the word remembering. And I just, didn't get that one.
Oh my God, no. Oh, you're an apologizer too, same. In the middle of a phrase, though, I've never heard that before.
In the middle of a word.
In the middle of a
phrase. In the middle of a word. Sorry, remembering how. Oh God.
Oh wow.
It wasn't my finest moment, I have to say.
You'd be amazing in Waitress. I'm just trying to plan your next 10 years of roles here. Celine Dion, Jenna in Waitress.
There we go.
Okay, knowing this is one for you actually. Knowing the panel versus strangers.
Knowing the panel. Well, knowing the panel in a friendly way. Do you mean? like sometimes you know the panel as in like you've auditioned for them before. That doesn't necessarily make it any easier. But if it's someone on the panel that I've had a friendly conversation with in the past and goes, oh my God, hi, how are you? Maybe comes and gives you a kiss on the cheek. Great. Thrilled.
Lovely. Thrilled. Would you still feel nervous auditioning for BKL, having played 2 amazing roles for them? Do you still feel the like pressure of it?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean it's weird because I was so lucky with Sally Bowles because I didn't really have to have a proper audition process.
Oh really?
So I basically I knew that the Cabaret tour was happening, and I messaged or emailed Bill and basically said I really want to play Sally Bowles
because she's your dream role, isn't she? She's one.
Yeah, definitely. And I was like, I really think I can do it well. I think I would be great at the part. Can I audition? And he said to me, I think you're great, but we need someone with a bigger name. And so that was that. And I was like, oh, okay, I totally understand. I don't, a few people in the theatre industry might have heard of me, but in the general world, I'm no one really. And that was that. And then a few months later, he messaged me and said, will you come in and read a bit of Sally Bowles for me? So he literally just said, will you come in and read some? So it wasn't even an audition really, because I was the only one, that day that he was seeing. Went into his office, had a cup of tea, read through the scenes, didn't even have to sing. And,
wow, dream audition.
He just assumed, I mean, hopefully wisely.
I think you proved yourself that you could sing in Cilla. Don't worry.
Sang a few songs. And then that was that. So that was amazing. But I don't think I'll ever not be nervous to go and have a meeting with Bill. Although we get on really well and we're friendly with each other, and I feel like we get on well, I don't feel like anything is guaranteed. And I feel like if you go in and you sing and you're not the best person in the room, no matter how many jobs you've done for him, I think he'll always give it to the person that he wants to in that moment. And so I think I'd always be nervous, probably not as nervous as
I think it's a respect
regular
thing
audition
as well, isn't it? Because it's given you work. I feel and have felt very nervous going for anybody that I've already worked for, more so because I feel like I've got something to prove, because you got to live up to
I've got to live up,
and they also have memory of you previously, and you don't want them to go, why did I give her that job? Like,
I know, right. Yeah, exactly.
So I think that is a hard one.
And if anyone's auditioned for Bill, you'll know it. You go up to his office and he's got this big table right at the end of the room, and it feels like he's about a mile away. And you have to walk this like long walk towards the desk, and it's really quite daunting up there. I mean, it's a lovely room. But I don't know, there's just something powerful about that, because that if you're in that room, you're close to getting it, because you don't get to that point. Most of the auditions are with associate producers and other people involved with the production, or the MD or whatever in the rounds leading up to it. If you're in the room with Bill, this is make or break time. This is, you either prove yourself and you nail it and you get it, or you F it up.
It is really symbolic, actually, what you've just said. I'd never thought of it like that. The next question is 16 bars versus full song.
Full song. I think it takes me a little while to get going.
I can never choose the right 16 bars either. I think that's such a small number.
Although sometimes I haven't done a cut and you're halfway through and you go, I'm boring myself.
Yes, I always try and start from verse 2, because otherwise I'm like, by the time I get to verse 2, I'm like, oh my God, I've still got the middle eight.
You know what? I did that with Alfie, actually, from Cilla. So I was auditioning for something. I think it was my best friend's wedding, the musical that's due to come out, and they wanted a Burt Bacharach song. I was like, great, I know a Burt Bacharach song, and didn't really realise that Alfie, out of context of the studio scene in the musical, it doesn't really tell a story.
Oh wow!
And it feels like it's about 10 days long.
Oh,
and I was about halfway through, and I was like, I am so bored of myself. They must be so bored.
Oh no.
Yeah, so Alfie as an audition song is not the one. So I apologize to anyone that was on my best friend's wedding panel where I was boring and awful, and
I'm sure
the
they love
dullest actress you've ever seen in your life.
No, not at all. So let's talk about your audition experiences and how they've changed from being very young until, now. You're still very young now, but I just mean, as I mentioned previously, when you're gracing the stage as a young actor, I was probably miming in my bedroom, singing about my year 4 crush or whatever. So you started dance class from about 5 years old, I read, at the Maggie Monk School of Dancing, which I didn't know this about you. What discipline were you a dancer of? You can tell I'm not a dancer.
I did all of the dances. Well, I did, the usual, not like street or hip hop, but like ballet, tap, like you. Ballet, tap, and jazz. I was never the best, but I loved it, and it gave me a sort of that desire to be some sort of a performer. And I think apparently I decided when I was really young that that's what I was going to do. I think I told my mum I'm going to be a singer.
Wow, from that.
And apparently when I was really little, I was awful as well at singing.
Oh, same. I feel
it
like
had a really bad
similarities between us. I couldn't sing either. No.
Yeah, apparently I had a really bad voice, and I'd auditioned for like the Amdram stuff and was terrible, and my mum was just like, I don't know why she wants to be a singer. She's awful. And I don't know, somehow, God knows.
Well, somehow from the age of 5 then to 11, because at age 11 you joined the Jackie Palmer agency. Is that correct?
Yes.
So what?
Yes, you've done your research, Miss Mullen.
Oh, well, I had to be pro. I know a lot about you, but I didn't know this. So what happened within those 6 years? Because you must have got brilliant to be signed to an agency.
I don't know. Did I have singing lessons? I must have had singing lessons, I guess.
Let me check my notes.
I remember now.
So how?
Yeah, you probably know better.
I probably know you better than you do.
Yeah.
So how old were you when you landed Annie? Because we've got to talk about that huge role for a young actor.
So when I was at the Maggie Monk School of Dancing, I think it was a few years after I'd joined, and they were doing a number in the show and asked me to sing a solo. And I can't remember if I guess I must have been a bit better at this stage than I was when I was really young. And someone said to me, oh, you've actually got a voice there, like you could use that, you could be a singer, why don't you audition for the Jackie Palmer stage school? Which I did, and I got in, and they suggested that I go to an open audition for Annie, just to get a bit of experience, just to see what an audition was like. And somehow miraculously I got the role of Annie.
You're like the open audition queen.
I know. I'm gonna change my previous answer to open auditions.
You should.
Yeah. So I auditioned for that, and it was on the national tour, and that was in 1999. And I was 11, and I think back then I was just full of confidence. I had no doubts. I would just go in, and I thought I was great. And I was like, oh, I love this that. Is amazing.
The confidence that you have as a young child.
I just no doubts that you're gonna hit a note or you're gonna do something. You just do it, and there's no fear, and that's the most amazing thing. But so I got that, and I was on tour. I think it was 9 months or something like that, and they had 3 teams of Annies, so we had tutoring and stuff, and sort of 1 week on, 2 weeks off. It was great. It was just the best. Gosh. And that was when I thought it was like easy to get parts.
I remember sending in things for open auditions, like for S Club Juniors and things, and thinking that I would genuinely get an audition, or if I auditioned for the X Factor, I'd genuinely go and see the judges straight away. Like if you went to the open, Cheryl Cole would be there. Like I think it's not naivety. I think it's like blind faith that you are gonna be somebody, you know, and you have this like idea of what the industry's like. And I think it's brilliant that we have that period in our life where we are so sure of ourselves before we get sort of like cynical about, a little bit more cynical. I would never ever worry about losing my voice. I would shout every day, sing every day.
Same.
You know, play outside and climb a tree and shout to my friend across the road. climb a tree? I think I did that once. I don't know why I just said that. I climbed a
You're
tree.
basically a lumberjack.
I was, you know me. I was a scout, and no, but I think it's really great that we have that time where we're not anxious about too many things, and we're just kids.
And I'm
I think
sure being anxious about it in turn makes things like losing your voice happen.
Yeah.
It's like if you think, I swear, if I think I'm getting ill, I will get ill.
Yes. Yeah. It's like if someone says they've got an itchy head, I'm like, oh no, my head.
Yeah.
So we go on from the Annie UK tour to the Discovery Kids channel presenting about dolphins.
I've done a few bizarre things. Yeah, I think I literally did like one episode, and I remember it was filmed at the Millennium Dome before it was the O2. I need to try and dig out this footage somewhere. It's somewhere in the depths of my nan's house probably. But I remember I had to slide into a ball pit and be like, and I think I had to introduce Steve Irwin.
Oh wow!
Now we're over to he wasn't there, but he was somewhere.
Australia.
Now we're over to Steve Irwin and talking about dolphins. And I was this really precocious, annoying kid.
I was a big Steve Irwin fan. I'm very jealous of you.
Oh yeah, but yeah, that's my Discovery Kids.
And did you have to audition for that?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I can't remember it now.
I am asking a lot. I wait till I mention Noah and Saskia when you played Melanie.
Oh my God, you fully done your research.
IMDb'd you.
It makes me sound like I've had this illustrious career.
It's brilliant. So how do you think your auditions have like differed or changed across the years?
I think the biggest change is the amount of pressure that you put on yourself. I think when you're a kid, it's just, oh yeah, I've got another thing, but you don't put as much pressure on yourself for getting it. And I think when you're older, it becomes important in like a financial way as well as just the success way. When you haven't worked for a while, it kind of becomes I need to get something rather than just like I want to, this would be fun. But when you're a kid, you don't have those pressures, and like we said before, I don't think you have that fear as much. I think you just go in and you do your thing. But then also in the same way, I think maybe you don't understand the disappointment quite in the same way when you're a kid. I think when you don't get it, I think it's harder for kids to understand why.
Were they nicer at the auditions when you were younger?
Yeah, I think so. I think people were always lovely when you auditioned as a kid. I think you always felt like you were being looked after, and I mean generally people are always nice, and I think the pressure that we put on ourselves is quite often imagined anyway. There aren't really many audition panels where you walk in and they're horrible. Sometimes they can be a little bit colder than others, but generally they're really nice, and the fear and all of that anxiety, I think we imagine.
Now, I also have to mention, going a little bit back to the anecdote, obviously the first year of auditioning for Cilla, I wasn't offered the role of understudy. And so that freed me up for other projects. And one of the other projects was, I got a phone call one day saying, you've been recommended by Kara Lily Hayworth for All Together Now, the television show, the new show. Apparently you'd been contacted and you were unable to do it because you were in Cilla. And I think you put in my name, which I'm ever so grateful
I don't even remember that, but I'm so glad.
And I think you messaged me on Instagram.
That was nice of me.
That was really nice of you. So because of obviously all the Cilla rounds together.
And you were so brilliant on that.
Oh, bless you. Thank you very much. It was the scariest thing I've ever done. You have also auditioned, as well as being in girl band, you've also auditioned for a television show, Britain's Got Talent, which you had great success on. You did extremely well. I remember watching Oh Misty Eye of the I don't know what that lyric is, but I just remember.
As the mountain below.
Yeah, oh beaut. And incredible. But I'm really, really interested to know about auditioning with a group, because I always felt so much better auditioning with 3 other girls.
I did too.
Yeah, do you find it is just so it's so nice to have like 3 other people to blame if it goes wrong? No, I'm joking.
Yeah.
I'm joking,
No,
no,
well, I mean, not even
on.
necessarily that, but just if you do something slightly wrong or you don't sing, you have a little bit of a wobble, well, there's 3 other voices backing you up. So generally it's not going to be as glaringly obvious. Whereas if you have a wobble and it's just you, it's just clear to everyone that something hasn't been quite right. But yeah, I loved singing with them. I just had the best time. And we were signed to a record label before that.
You were, yeah.
Yeah, we were signed to Decca Records. I think it was for about 2 years in the end.
Amazing.
And then they dropped us. I mean, as you were saying earlier about the music industry, it's super tough. And I never really knew, because obviously I'd come from a sort of theatrical background and that sort of thing.
You've come from theatre into music. So it's very different, isn't it? And you are you. How was it auditioning as you rather than a character?
Yeah.
Was it difficult?
Weird. I much prefer, I think, to hide behind a character. But as you say, singing in a group was a lot better.
So has that been your only, I mean, obviously we did search for Cilla for this morning, small segments with Fern McCann interviewing us, and I felt like it was very, very safe and like very supportive. And I think because it was obviously scary because the cameras were there, but it was not as intense for me as All Together Now. Did you find Got Talent just like another level of nervousness for auditions?
I was very nervous, especially for the live show. So the semi-final, the live, because it's just live on TV, and I'd never done that before. And even just things like walking down some stairs at the end, I was like, I'm gonna stack it down the stairs on live TV, and it's gonna be awful, and Ant's gonna have to pick me up off the floor or something. So I was terrified about that. But yeah, if I'd been on my own, I think it would have been a lot worse. So in your situation, I think I would have been a lot more scared, but having the other girls there as support made such a difference.
Definitely
made such a difference. And generally everyone on that show, you know, all the sort of producers and runners and everything like that were lovely. But it's a weird thing, as soon as we were out, it changes. Of course, you know, they're putting their energies in other places, but as soon as you're out the show, or you haven't made it through to the next round, you're not important anymore then.
Yeah, it's very, very,
and definitely felt that
cutthroat.
Yeah.
Very.
Totally.
I have a question to ask, which isn't actually really like related to the podcast and audition situations, but well, it kind of is. We were always, as a girl band, given feedback about the way we looked rather than our vocals. I don't know if that happens to boy bands or to like mixed bands at all, but did you find also an added pressure on top of your auditioning for, you know, a place in the final and singing, and also you're trying to think of the harmonies, trying to think of your solo bits, you've also got movement. Was there that added pressure when you used to audition together to look a certain way or to pose as a certain type of girl band in the way that you looked?
Yeah, definitely. And when we were signed to the label, we definitely were given this sort of aesthetic that we were supposed to look like, this kind of sort of rock chicky vibe crossed with classical singing and all of this sort of stuff. So we were definitely sort of guided down that route. I mean, we were quite lucky by the time we got to Britain's Got Talent, because we'd already had that journey with the record label, and I think we'd sort of found our style and found ourselves, so we were more comfortable in that. We were quite lucky that we had our style and we knew what we were. But in hindsight, I don't know if that served us well in the end, because I think we came out and we were maybe too slick in our first audition, and I think they couldn't morph us into anything. Whereas I think in hindsight, we probably should have come out in, I don't know, jeans and t-shirts or something, and then been transformed, and then Simon Cowell probably could have gone, yeah, I did that. Whereas I think he couldn't do the I did that thing with us.
Your experience with films, so the things that you've been in, projects you've been involved with, like Maleficent and The Huntsman, how were your like auditions for that? Was it something that was like a really quick process of like, you know, casting in this area or whatever, or was it through your agent and lots of rounds?
So it makes it sound like it's a lot better than it actually was. So in both of those instances, I was a stand-in for the lead.
Right.
So in Maleficent, I was a stand-in for Elle Fanning. So basically,
Wow.
I stood in and doubled for her. So it wasn't an audition like an acting audition. Basically,
Right.
it was I used to do a lot of extra work when I first left drama school. And if you were the right height and if you were the right measurements and build and everything, I mean, you had to do a bit of acting because they'd give you the scene and you'd run through the scenes, getting all the cameras and lights set up. I mean, it was amazing. It was amazing. But with Huntsman, the reason I've got an acting credit in that was because I think the director took a shine to me and gave me a very small part in it after having been Jessica Chastain's stand-in.
You've been some amazing people stand-ins. I love that.
So it sounds like I've been in movies, but I think I'm only credited on IMDb because I'm in the credits. But I know I loved it, and I learned so much being on set.
Yeah,
you know, I hadn't
imagine.
done that many sort of TV and film jobs, and you don't really learn those sorts of things at drama school. Things like having your marks on the floor and having your eye lines and things like that, and where to look in terms of the camera and just the lingo that is sort of said on set. And I never would have learned as much as I did doing stand-in work. It was amazing, and getting to see close up the directors directing these Hollywood movie stars. I mean, with Huntsman, I spoke to her.
Did you say why did you steal Brad Pitt from Jennifer Aniston? Because I'll never forgive you.
No, but I met him as well. He came to the set and he was just stood next to me, and I was just like, be cool. But yeah, and like with the Huntsman, there's like Charlize Theron, Emily Blunt, and obviously Jessica Chastain, and it's just amazing, and you see them working close up. So you see them working with the director and rehearsing the scene, and because obviously as a stand-in, you're right there. So as soon as they step off set, you're in there. You need to take their spot, even if they go to get a cup of tea. They need someone in that light, someone in front of the camera to line things up on. So I did a bit on Cinderella as well with Lily James. It was I loved doing it. I haven't done it for a long time, but I really enjoyed it.
I think it's brilliant to learn how to be on set, even just like the etiquette of set life. You know, I think it's fantastic. I've only ever done extra work once, and I worked with Little Mix on Salute, their music video, and I think I only got picked because none of them were ginger at the time. Jessie didn't have like red hair at the time. And I just had to stand next to them with a stick covered in petrol and then lit a light, and I just had to hold it next to them. And I was
Can I see you if I look for the video on YouTube?
Oh yeah, if you blink you will miss me. Okay, so we're now going to play another little game, and this one is called Rituals. So these are just like little superstitions or little do's and don'ts before or after an audition. Do you have any outfit go-to for auditions? Shall I say that again, or shall I just mess that line up? Do you have any outfit go-tos? No, that's not right. Do you have any go-to outfits? Doesn't matter. Do you dress up for the role that you're auditioning for, or do you just go full Kara Lily Hayworth?
So it's a difficult one because you never want to be full out costume, but always have a hint of what it is that you're going for. Because I think sometimes, I'd never say anything bad about casting directors because I love them all, obviously. But I think sometimes if you don't give them what they want directly, in front of them, I think they can't always imagine that you're going to be right for a part. I mean, look at Cilla, for example. Look at us being redheads. 3 out of the final 4 girls were redheads. Yeah. Because Cilla was a redhead and we wore wigs for the entire show. But because we were redheads, they saw us and went, yeah, that's right for Cilla. Hopefully we were right for it because we were right for it.
No, but it was just because we had red hair, Cara.
But I bet that had something to do with them picturing us in the part.
And to be fair, you and I did have an excellent run of 60s dresses.
That's the sort of thing I would do is wear something that hints at what you're doing. So like if I was going for waitress, I might wear a sort of
apron,
cutesy midi dress that's kind of an apron, and I might hold a pie. But yeah, just like a hint towards what it is that you're going for. Like if you're going for Moulin Rouge, maybe a little bit of lace, but not like a corset and fishnets.
And a garter.
Just a subtle hint.
Just a little subtle hint. Are you an early bird or are you like cutting it fine on time?
Oh, I thought you meant in like general
in
morning.
Life. Yeah, no, I meant for an
in
audition,
life.
sorry.
In life, no, but auditions, yes. I'm always at least half an hour early. I have a fear that I'm going to be late.
Yeah, same.
You know, there's been the odd occasion where things have not gone my way with trains and stuff like that, and I have ended up cutting it fine, and I am then so panicked and so like out. I can't like catch my breath. I can't. Like when you walk through the door and they go, Cara, and you go, oh my God, I can't breathe. I just hate that feeling so much. But then I also hate the feeling of getting there half an hour early and then stewing for half an hour. So I don't know which is worse. Quite often I've been like over an hour early and just been wandering around. I did that for a recall for an advert that I had to go to, and it was when it was lockdown, so I'm surprised there was still the odd advert casting. So I had to go into London, but I arrived so stupidly early. I was like, I'll go get a cup of tea, forgetting that you can't go and get a cup of tea.
No, you can't.
Shut. So I was just wandering around like the empty streets, like.
Oh my God, that's actually
felt like
so
there'd been
sad.
an apocalypse or something, and I had nothing to do. So that was weird. But yeah, I always arrive really early.
Brilliant. Brilliant. I'm like giving you a grade. Brilliant. 5 out of 5.
Brilliant. Star.
Gold star. Do you keep it a secret or do you tell everyone you know when you have an audition?
I keep it a secret generally, unless it's got to the point where I've had maybe like 3 recalls. I used to tell my family and my mom and stuff, and bless, it's not her fault. I know it's because she cares, but she will ask consistently whether I've heard anything, what's going on with it, did you hear back? And I always found it really hard to explain, obviously, that I hadn't heard anything. And then you could just see the disappointment in her face, like, well, why? What did you do wrong? And well, I didn't do anything wrong. I just didn't get it. Right. So now I tend not to tell her. I mean, I'll tell her if it's like an advert audition or something. But if it's something musical theatre or something like that I really want, and I just don't want to feel that disappointment, I'll maybe wait, see if I get a recall or whatever. Yeah. And then maybe tell people then. Obviously tell my husband everything, but he probably doesn't really care either way.
Has he had to read in for things during lockdown?
Yeah. He hates it. He hates it so much. Yeah, he hates it. I'm always roping him into helping me with self-tapes and things like that. And yeah, he hates it.
Oh,
and he just doesn't like reading stuff on camera. And no. I mean, not that he's on camera, but he doesn't like reading stuff. So quite often I'll record him on an app. Yeah, there's an app called Line Learner app. So I'll record him and I'll record me in the right, and then I'll pause my line. So I'm kind of acting with him, but just with his voice.
That is good. Good advice. I'm going to note that down. Do you have anybody that you call after an audition, or are you just like cool as a cucumber? I don't need to call anyone.
I either Rob, my husband, or my sister usually.
Lovely tash.
Yeah, I'm never cool as a cucumber. I don't think I've ever been described as that.
Me neither. Do you have any warm-ups that you have to do beforehand?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about like specific warm-ups, but I have to do a warm-up. If I haven't warmed up my voice, I feel like nothing's going to work. I mean, sort of the bubble, like that's a go-to. That's a good go-to, like right up until you're about to go in, because it just keeps everything, well, in theory, keeps everything from tightening up. It tends not to always do the job with me, but yeah, bubbles and things like that.
And it's less obvious
having a nice warm tea
than like being in the waiting room and being like Bella Senora on your own in the corner.
I always wish I had the confidence to warm up though in the room, but I just can't.
Last few, do you do research on the show, like watch the show or film or whatever beforehand, or do you kind of just make your assumption on what the show's about from what you've heard or whatever?
I think it depends what it is. Like with Cilla, obviously because it's based on a real person, I did loads of research on her and watched tons of footage, and obviously trying to nail the accent and the voice and everything like that. So there was loads of research to be done on that. But with a role like Sally Bowles in Cabaret, not really. I had obviously seen the film before, but I didn't want to try and, I mean, no one's going to try and emulate Liza, obviously, because impossible. But I didn't really do that much research in terms of like the character and stuff, because we had a bit of a longer rehearsal process on that. So finding character stuff was just in the rehearsal room, really.
So obviously you spent 3 years at the amazing Central School of Speech and Drama. Is that the actual? Yes, for you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, suddenly.
Yeah, well done.
Wrong. Oh my gosh.
I mean, technically now it's called the Royal Central School of Speech and Drama, but it wasn't when I was there. So I don't know if I can.
My research has failed.
I can add that. No, but it wasn't when I was there. So you're perfectly correct. I don't think I can say that I went to the Royal one, because technically I didn't.
I love Central. I auditioned 2 years in a row there. I absolutely didn't get in. No, I absolutely loved it. I obviously didn't get in. But it's a fantastic, if for anyone that is thinking of auditioning, I auditioned 10 years ago, so I don't know if it's the same, but I used to, if you get recalled, you end up staying there for like the full day. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
The third year show you around. I really, really enjoyed my audition experience there. But let's talk about you being there. And first of all, when you auditioned for drama school, did you think I am definitely going to Central, or were there other options?
No, I had my heart set on Mount View.
Oh, really?
Just because that had always been the one that I'd got told was the one to go to for musical theatre, and I didn't really know a lot else, and I didn't get into Mount View, and I went to my audition at Central, and because it was the acting course but it was a musical theatre pathway, I was like, well, I'm not sure, and I'm so glad that I did, because it turns out that acting is the thing for me more than just musical theatre. Acting is what I absolutely love. And I remember walking up the steps. They've got these amazing steps with all of the names of famous graduates or whatever that went there, up the steps, and you walk in and there's a big chandelier, and I just remember getting this feeling when I walked in, like, oh, I want to go here, this is amazing. And I didn't get in my first year round. I didn't really get into anywhere, and then I had a year out and then auditioned again, and got in, and I think I also got into GSA, but I didn't get, what was it called, a Dada.
Oh, okay.
And I just couldn't, I couldn't afford to go. It was way too expensive. Whereas Central was part of the University of London, I think.
Yes.
And so it was like regular fees. So at the time that was what, 4.5. It's not anymore, but £4,500 a year. So that was a bit more doable with like getting loans and things like that. Yeah. So yeah, and it was great. I had a tough time there though. Definitely, I wasn't the loudest. I remember like the first day, everyone was so loud and so confident, and I felt I sort of just shrunk a little bit, and I was never one of the favorites. So I sort of felt like I disappeared a little bit. I mean, we were really lucky. We had a really small class size. There was only, I think it was six girls and 10 boys. So we were really lucky. But yeah, I just wasn't one of the favorites, and I was given quite a hard time. I remember there was one of the acting teachers said we weren't allowed to wear any makeup.
I think the audition were not allowed to wear any makeup.
Yeah, and I'd always come in and she'd be like, "You're wearing mascara," and I'd be like, "I promise I'm not." And she always used to accuse me of wearing makeup and stuff. And I remember I was doing a monologue once. This will stick with me forever. I was doing this monologue and she kept making me do it over and over again, and everyone else was obviously just watching, and she kept being like, no, I don't believe you, all of this stuff. And then I think I started to cry at one point, and she turned around to the rest of the class and went, "Oh, look, pretty little Cara's crying." And I just remember that in my head, and and everyone like laughed and stuff, and it was just awful. And I just always remember I just had a really tough time. And it wasn't until my third year when I got a couple of like nice parts in our third year, and that was when things started to get a little bit better. But yeah, it wasn't easy at all. I don't really respond well to sort of belittling or criticizing or being sort of shouted at. That tends to just make me sort of go into myself and become a bit of a shell. And I felt like that was a little bit of a technique that was used to try and sort of break you and build you back up, kind of thing. But then I definitely left a lot stronger than when I went, so I guess it had some sort of positive impact that way. And it was great training and great acting training, and also, it sounds a bit silly, but being able to leave And when people say, where did you train? And you can say, I trained at Central, it means something. Shouldn't always necessarily, but I think it does change people's opinion of you. So it does have some influence for sure. I mean, I don't know how much influence it would have now that I'm a bit older, but definitely when I first graduated, it helped being able to say that I went there.
Let's go on to the final. The final game is have you ever questions. Have you ever?
Ooh.
This is a no-brainer. Have you ever auditioned for a dream role?
Yes.
Yes. That was my first question, but obviously I know that Sally Bowles is like absolute dream.
Well, I mean, I had a cup of tea with Bill Kenwright. Does that count?
Yes. Okay. Have you ever had to cover up forgetting lyrics in a audition? And what's been your best cover
audition? Oh, I don't know. I'm sure I will have done, and I've forgotten lyrics on stage as well. But I'm sure I have in an audition. Definitely. I can't think of any particular examples. I mean, I had one of the most horrendous auditions of my life was actually for Les Mis, and it was the day after my 30th birthday party, and I'd had a lot to drink on that night. And it was at the Umbrella Rooms, which if anyone listening knows, it's like this big tall bit, and we were in the top room, so it was right at the top of the stairs. And you know when you're hungover and you just can't get your breath, you're just like you just can't get enough oxygen.
I'm getting like secondhand anxiety thinking of you being hungover walking up the stairs.
And I'd planned what I was going to sing for the audition, and that went out the window because I was like, I'm like, I've got the lowest voice in the world today. I was just like gravel. So okay, what can I sing that I know is going to come out? And I picked Unusual Way from 9 because I was like, I've sung that a million times, that will be fine. And they obviously did the usual saying, bring 2 songs. I just brought that one because I thought they never ask. They won't ask for the second one. I'm just going to literally have that one song. So I sang it, and I remember I walked in, and I think it was when I was still doing Cilla, or I was about to finish or something. And they asked me how it was, and it was just like a jumble of words. Like I was like, it's been a great tour. I've had a really great time. It was my 30th birthday party last night. It's actually my birthday today, and and I just was spouting all of these words at them, and I think they were just like, oh my god, I think she's high. And I sang this, I did the song, and I think I breathed in the middle of the word unusual. And went, in a very unusual way, and it was just bad. And then at the end, obviously they said, great, what's your second song? And I was like, no, don't have one. And I just and it was really bad, and I left, and I was like, I shouldn't have gone to that.
Oh my god, Cara.
Yeah.
Oh my god, makes for a great story, but I'm really sorry you had to live through that moment. Oh my god. What's your second song?
It was bad. No.
Oh, you poor thing.
Yeah, and I don't think I've ever felt worse than I did that day. It was an error. It was an error to have gone.
Well, fair play to you for going to an audition after your 30th. I mean, that's commitment.
I mean, I probably looked, I think I was up for fun. I think I probably looked sufficiently broken and destroyed.
Oh,
which is quite appropriate for the character.
Have you ever been on a panel?
No.
Would you like to?
I don't think I have. Oh, I think it'd be quite interesting to experience it from the other side. Have the power. Yeah. Have you?
No, but I think I would just cast everyone because I'd feel bad for everyone.
Yeah.
I'd be like, yeah, you've got the role.
Or cast them just because they were sweet.
Yeah. You're
like,
through to
but
Hollywood.
They looked really sad.
Have you ever posted about an audition on social media?
No. Well, maybe still. Oh, I don't know. I don't think I have actually. I suddenly thought, would I have done it during Cilla because it was like being televised and stuff? I don't know.
I don't think we were allowed.
I mean, no, saying that, I think I might have done about my Britain's Got Talent audition, but after the fact. Like when it was on TV, I think I would have said tonight being shown is our audition. I don't know. But like a regular audition, no, I don't think so.
Have you ever auditioned for a part that you are totally wrong for, but you've gone anyway?
I definitely would. It definitely will be like in my early days of doing like dancing stuff. I can't think of any examples, but I definitely had a few dance rounds for things. Like when it was dance round first, might have even been something like 42nd Street or something like that. And I can tap a bit, but I mean, no. And it was just, not good at all. I'm trying to think if I've done any singing ones recently that have been particularly dreadful. Probably. Can't think of any.
Don't focus on the negative. I bet you still sound great even when you say that you don't.
No.
I have to ask you a little bit slightly off on a tangent, but Secret Cinema, Moulin Rouge. You're just the most perfect. Oh, you're just the most perfect. You're just the most perfect choice for Satine. What was your audition process like for Secret Cinema? Was it very, because it's obviously very like hush hush, obviously, about the location and everything. But you obviously, I imagine you don't audition on location, but it's all improv, isn't it, with the audience beforehand? And do you have to lip sync in your audition? Like, what do you?
No, so it was a really scary audition.
Really?
Because they do a big group audition, and you have to, like, I remember they made us like be animals and stuff and walk around the room in a character and burst into, like, you had to like try and capture everyone's attention in some way. And honestly, it's just the most terrifying audition process ever. And some people just absolutely thrive in those sorts of situations. I prefer to know what I'm doing personally, but I mean, it's a clever way of auditioning, because it really sort of shows who can be creative in those sorts of ways. But and we worked on like a little bit of like the routines and stuff like that, and the songs, because obviously if you've been to Secret Cinema, there's lots of live singing before the film, but then when you get to the actual film part, you, like you say, you lip sync and you mime along to the film, which is a real skill in its own. But we didn't do any of that. We didn't do any of that in the auditions. That was just once we started rehearsing. Wow. Just had the best time.
How long was the rehearsal period for that?
I think we had like 3 weeks, something like 3-4 weeks.
It's a big event, isn't it? It is like, it's obviously you can't always plan for the visitors that you're going to get and the audience members.
1,000 people a night would come to that. Wow. And it was amazing. I had so much fun on it. Yeah, it was great, and the costumes and everything were just spot on. Yeah, it was fab.
Before we go, got to ask you for any kind of advice that you have for anyone with auditions or anybody, thinking of joining the profession. If you've got anything, like any do's and don'ts that you definitely like stick to.
I think just the main advice would just be it doesn't happen instantly. For some people it does. There might be someone around you that lands that job straight out of drama school, or I didn't get my break, I would say, was Cilla, even though I'd done Secret Cinema before that. That was my break, and I was, like I say, I was 29 when I got that, and I left drama school when I was 20, 21. So I spent a long time really not working or struggling to even get auditions or get an agent. I spent a lot of time without an agent, and it isn't necessarily a reflection on whether you're good enough, because then suddenly you'll land that thing and everyone goes, oh my God, where have you been this whole time? You go, I've been here trying to do it. But sometimes it just takes that one thing for someone to notice you. So if you feel like you're not getting anywhere, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're not good enough, and just to keep working on your craft and on yourself and improving and keep putting yourself out there and being creative and getting videos on YouTube and putting yourself out there. Sometimes it will take a little bit longer, but if you keep working hard, then you'll get there. Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of times that I thought about quitting and probably should have done, but you keep pushing on, and then it paid off, because I've got to do some incredible things over the last few years.
And dream role, finally, next dream role, what would it be? I know you've already played quite a few fabulous roles, but what would be the next?
Oh, I don't know. You know what? I love musical theatre, but I would love to do something in film and TV, something like that. Like, my absolute dream would be something sort of fantastical, something fantasy, like Lord of the Ringsy or Game of Thronesy, something like that, where I'm playing some sort of ethereal, magical creature. Amazing. I don't know, so some sort of something like that would be my absolute dream. That would be amazing. Or some sort of period drama like Bridgerton or something.
Well,
or Bridgerton the musical.
Bridgerton the musical. I could see that. There's going to be loads of Bridgerton series as well. Like, so who knows? Could be in the next one.
Yeah, that would be great. That's what I would love.
Yeah, amazing. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me today. You guys that are listening to this now won't hear the full version because we've actually been talking for nearly 3 hours.
Have we?
Yeah, it's been so lovely to chat to you. Thank you so much for your time. And if you could just do our outro. Thanks, that's all for today. And then you'll be relieved of like this jury duty. But
do you want me to say my name or anything, or literally just thanks, that's all for today?
No, literally just thanks, that's all for today. But if you want to say your name, you can go ahead. This is Kara Lily Hayworth reporting for Thanks, That's All for Today. And now to Steve Irwin. Okay, right. Whenever you're ready, I'll close my eyes so I don't put you off.
Thanks, that's all for today.
Woohoo! Amazing.